Welcome back to the GCN Racing News Show. This week, a big weekend in the world of cyclocross with the latest rounds of the DVV Trophy and the Superprestige, which was on one of the most iconic cyclocross courses, the sand dunes of Zonhoven. We've also got the US National Championships, the Track World Cup from London, and also a look at the past, the present and the future of team sponsors as one leaves the sport, one remains, and two come in. Mathieu Van Der Poel has been up to his usual tricks again, i.e. completely dominating. After a couple of weeks break from competition, he resumed with back-to-back wins at the weekend in both the Scheldecross DVV Trophy, where he was over a minute ahead of Wout van Aert and Toon, and then over one of the most iconic courses in cyclocross, the Superprestige in Zonhoven on Sunday. In that event, he made light work of the sand and wintry conditions, cruising home 43 seconds ahead of Van Aert, with Aerts a further 52 seconds back in third. Now, there's absolutely no sign of anybody even getting close to Van Der Poel right now, let alone getting the better of him. As pointed out by Daniel Osternak on Twitter, Van Der Poel has this season won all 5 rounds of the Superprestige, all 3 rounds of the World Cup in which he has competed, and 3 of the 4 DVV trophies. In fact, the only real blemishes are through his absence at the opening 2 rounds of the World Cup, the Koppenberg Cross, where he was uncharacteristically in 21st position, and a round of the Brico Cross where he crashed and his ankle swelled up like a balloon. Well, he did still win the next day. The question on everybody's mind, though, possibly even his own, is whether or not he can carry his form through to the World Championships in a couple of months' time. In that event, of course, he has been beaten by Van Aert for the past 3 years in a row, and there's no doubt that that result has always hurt. In the women's events, Denise Betsema, who signed a pro contract off the back of a series of wins that included a round of the World Cup in Coxada, proved that the team had most definitely made the right decision by comfortably winning the Scheldecross on Saturday, 23 seconds ahead of Lucinda Brand. On Sunday though, she could only manage second, with Sanne Cant giving everybody a masterclass on how to run with a bike, the world champion taking her first Superprestige win of this season. The riders will all be meeting up again for their next battle in Namur on Sunday for the 6th round of the World Cup. Meanwhile, last weekend we also had the USA National Championships, which were held in some atrociously muddy conditions in Louisville, Kentucky. In the women's race, Katie Compton has sat on the throne for a decade and a half, looking to dethrone her with the likes of Ellen Noble and Caitlin Keogh, and it was those two who led off the start line, with Compton trailing in 10th position after having unclipped from her pedal. It's been a tough season for Compton, who's just turned 40, and you wondered if this would be the year that 14-year winning streak would come to an end. Not so. Once she got up to speed, there was no stopping her, flying down the descents and taking chunks of time out of all her rivals. Compton would eventually come home with over 2 minutes to spare over Sunny Gilbert at the Van Dessel cycling team, with Ellen Noble over 2.5 minutes down, taking the bronze. That means it's an incredible 15 titles in a row for Compton, who will today head to Europe as she builds up for another crack at the World Championships at the end of February. In the men's event over in Kentucky, there's another winning streak starting to develop. Stephen Hyde of Cannondale Cyclocross World took his 3rd title in a row, but only after a hard-fought and race-long battle with teammate Curtis White. Midway through, it looked as though Hyde would literally run away with it after a crash for White, but he did manage to claw his way back, and it wasn't until the penultimate lap that Hyde would get a significant gap. Even then though, it wasn't plain sailing for him, as he almost came to grief himself near the start-finish area with a couple of laps to go. In the end though, it was job done for Hyde, with White in 2nd place and 20-year-old Gage Hecht in 3rd, a man who you may remember from his spectacular stage win at the Colorado Classic this year. Over at the UCI Track World Cup in London, the small British city of Derby arguably became the #1 in the men's team pursuit as the Hugh Wattbike test team took gold, beating Belgium in the final. The result is all the more impressive considering the team is made up of amateurs who have applied tech, science and engineering to optimise performance. Day 2 of the World Cup saw Australia's Stephanie Morton dominate the women's sprint, while Denmark's duo Julius Johansson and Casper von Fulsack won gold in the Madison. Kirsten Wild came out on top in the Omnium, and fellow Dutch rider Matthijs Buckley secured gold for the men's Keirin. Having already secured gold in the team pursuit, Laura Kenny and Katie Archibald took to the boards as Madison partners on the final day of the UCI Track World Cup. Going into the race as clear favourites, they didn't disappoint the home crowd, taking a whopping 34 points to claim the gold. There were also a few standout performances from young Matthew Walls, who took a bronze, a silver and then finally a gold in the Omnium on the last day. On to sponsorship now. Last week, as I'm sure you all know by now, it was revealed that Sky's long association with Team Sky would come to an end at the end of the 2019 season. If you haven't already seen our video looking back at their last 9 years as a team and what this news could mean for them, I will link to that at the end of this video. But it certainly looks as though it could be a defining moment for our sport. If they find a replacement sponsor, that would be good in many ways, as it means our sport is managing to attract the big bucks of the corporate world. If they don't, it might look bad that nobody is willing to invest in the most high-profile team in cycling, but some have argued that it could firstly level up the playing field and also potentially attract other major companies to invest, companies who may otherwise have been put off spending about 15 million quid, only to be in the shadow of the mighty Team Sky. Whatever happens, it's going to be an interesting few months for all involved. The riders within the team have been giving generally positive reaction to the news, as you might expect. Chris Froome said that it had made the team even more determined with regard to their 2019 ambitions, whilst Geraint Thomas posted a video to Instagram.
Like I say, try and end on a high next year, and then who knows, the future is exciting, and hopefully we'll have another big sponsor to support us, and yeah, we'll go from there. So, cheers.
Meanwhile, EF Education First manager Jonathan Vaughters told the Guardian newspaper that Sir Dave Brailsford has an impressive ability to reach into a toilet and pull out chocolate. You do want to make doubly sure it's definitely chocolate though, don't you, before you reach in. Anyway, it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out over the next few months. Contrary to that news, there was some very good news in Spain as parent company Telefonica extended its support of the Movistar squad through to the end of 2021. Movistar winning the team classification yet again with that news. And another team with a lot to celebrate this Christmas is Jelly Belly. After 19 years in the sport, it looked as though the team was set to disband after Jelly Belly removed their sponsorship, but they've had a late reprieve. For the next 3 years, they will be known as the Wildlife Generation presented by Max's squad and compete at a continental level. Very welcome news for everybody involved over there. Also investing in the sport are McLaren, who've taken a 50% stake in the Bahrain Merida team, who had their 2019 team launch last week in Croatia. As you'd expect, McLaren will be working mainly on the performance side, including aerodynamics, mindset and recovery. In other news, next year's Colorado Classic is set to be a women's only event in a mission to firstly support women's cycling, but also to secure the financial future of the event. Provisionally, it is scheduled for August the 22nd to the 25th. Now, with an increased prize pool and expenses paid for teams attending, organisers are hoping to attract some of the world's top talent, despite the fact that the race will come at a similar time in the season to 3 World Tour races in Europe. We certainly wish them the best of luck, and fingers crossed, we'll get to show you some coverage right here on GCN. Lotto Soudal new recruit Caleb Ewan appears to have a completely new lead-out train for next year, so along with Adam Blythe, he can now count on both Lawrence Nassen and Thomas de Gent. Very funny. How low can you go? And finally, Corendon Circus, the team of Mathieu Van Der Poel, have received pro-continental status with the UCI, which is very exciting for all of us because it opens up the door for them to receive wildcard invitations to the biggest races, which could well mean that we see Van Der Poel compete at events such as the Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix, just as Wout van Aert did this year. And I, for one, would absolutely love to see that. Right, that's all for this week's Racing News Show. Next week, I'm going to be back with a look at some more of the best moments of this season. Plus, we're going to reveal the winners of the best male, female and team of the year, as voted for by you. Before then, if you haven't already watched our video on Team Sky, you're able to find that just down here.